Hello, my name is Matthew McKnight. I'm Troop 9090's campaign director, and the reason I'm doing this video is because Tomahawk is doing a different plan with High Adventure this year, one they've never really done before, and it can be a little strange if you've done this before to understand how they're accomplishing this. So I wanted to lay out kind of what they're planning as best I understand it, so that when you go to fill out the form, you'll have an idea of how it all works. So to start, let's go to Tomahawk's website. The simplest thing to do is just type Tomahawk BSA, and that'll bring up camptomahawk.org. You click there, and on the left over here, you'll see Program Catalog. Click on that, and it will bring up the PDF that you're going to want to be looking at as we go through this. You can also find the link over on the website, our Troop 9090 website, under Summer Camping, and also under the form there'll be a link to this. It all brings you to the same place. Now, there's a lot of information in here, and you should really sort of read through it so you understand some of it. But the big thing that I want to focus on right now are how this affects people that are doing high adventure. Now, if your scout is going to be under 13, so they're going to be 12 and under by August 31st of this year, then you don't have to worry about high adventure. That's only for scouts that are going to be 13 and over as of 9/1. So if they're going to be 12 or 11, 10, don't worry about this. All you need to worry about are the merit badges and the troop activities, and we'll talk about that. But if your scout does do high adventure, then you're going to want to pay attention, because the way they're doing it is different. So let's start from the beginning. This is how they have an idea of how the week is going to lay out, and they try to color code it. Let me first say that on Wednesday, lunch logging camp, that's just an example. Doesn't mean everybody's going to go to logging camp on Wednesday. They just wanted to give an example of how it would work. If the troop activity was logging camp, then it would take the whole 3 chunks. But what they've done is they've broken into 3 main sections. The first section is the morning. Merit badge sessions, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, as you see there. And you can sign up for merit badges. Some of them take 2 slots, cooking. Many of you are familiar with this whole thing. Some only take 1. So your scout could pick out whatever merit badges they wanted. The second chunk is the afternoon chunk after lunch. And that is the troop activity. So there'll be 5 days of so many hours of going out and doing fun stuff as a troop if you want. And there's a lot of different fun things that you can do as a troop. For example, Ice Cream Island is one, or the Aqua Trap. So we can select things that we want to do during this time. Some of them will take multiple slots, like logging camp, for example. Some of them will only take 1 or 2 if they're like tie-dye. Tie-dye is probably not going to take more than an hour, so they'll try to slot that in. And then the third section, that evening portion, is just open. So there's a lot of other things that we could do for that. If we have a program, sometimes over in programs, not really sure what they're planning. That's still up in the air because of COVID, but hopefully there'll be things like the Star Party would be a great one. So why does this matter? Well, if you look closely, you'll notice that what's missing from this is the high adventure section. And that's because the high adventure is now kind of integrated into the whole thing, except for the evening portion. So high adventure now is kind of going to be a juggling act for them. What they're going to do is, if your scout wants to do high adventure, they're going to ask you to rank your top 10 choices. And then what they're going to do is they're going to see if they can get you in. They're going to take the choices you have for high adventure, and they're going to try to sort them with the choices everybody else has for high adventure. And that means that there isn't a guarantee that a particular class will happen, and there's no guarantee how many times it will happen. They don't have it slotted in anywhere. So let's take the welding merit badge. Welding merit badge is going to take an entire day, a session or 2. And so they're going to have to figure out how many people want to take the welding merit badge. And knowing how many people want to take the welding merit badge, they're going to have to figure out how to sort those people and their time. Now, That means that there's no, like, the merit badge sessions are clear. If you want to sign up for cooking, then you're going to sign up for, I think, or shotgun shooting. If you want to sign up for shotgun shooting, that's going to be Tuesday, Thursday from 8:45 to 12:15. You're going to do 1B and 2B. That's your shotgun shooting. It's set. Everyone doing shotgun shooting, they're going to do that. You know that now when you pick it out. But if you say, I want to do the welding merit badge, when it's going to happen is going to be kind of up to how everybody's stuff works out. So this is where it gets a little complex. And I want to take a step back, and we're going to go through this. And I want you to kind of understand that what they're doing is they're trying to take the high adventure and slip it in as best they can into this whole system. And that means that there are a couple different options. One option is, obviously, even if you are an older scout, you just do merit badges, and you only worry about the troop activity, and you don't do any high adventure. Totally fine. There are a bunch of different really cool high adventures, so before you do that, I would strongly recommend you take a look at them. But you could totally do that, and that's fine. There's going to be hopefully a lot of fun troop activities to do, or just hanging around the camp. The second option is you choose merit badges, all the merit badges you want, fill that slot up 8:45 to 12:15 with merit badges. And then in the afternoon portion, instead of doing troop activity, you'll end up doing high adventure. Now, even that's going to be a bit of a juggle, because if, let's say, you only want to do two high adventure, you want to do ATV training and then an ATV trail ride, that's not going to be for the whole week. There's going to be a couple slots in there for you to do it. What that means is that you'll be able to do the troop activity as well as the high adventure stuff. So that's the second option, is you do all the merit badges, fill up the merit badges, and then you choose high adventure, and that happens in the afternoon. The third option is that you can actually, instead of doing merit badges, you can specify you want to do high adventure in the morning. So when you select your merit badge, when you go through there, you'll notice there's an option. I want to use this for high adventure older scout activities. And what that means is that, let's say you say, I want 1A and 2A. You're going to do shotgun for 1B, 2B. But for 1A, 2A, you want to set that aside for high adventure older scout. Then maybe if they're doing the whitewater rafting, they may take you for the morning portion for that. That may even be an all-day event, right? So that's what it means. You are going to be capable of setting aside that time. If you really run out of merit badges that you want to take, maybe you could do high adventure during that period. So take a look at that. That's a third choice. And of course, the fourth choice is high adventure everywhere. So instead of doing any merit badge, you say, that whole morning portion I'm setting aside for high adventure, sign me up, and the afternoon too. So those are sort of the four. And the reason I bring this up is because when you look at the merit badges, for example, you'll see that one of the options is do high adventure. Understand that if you don't pick that, that doesn't mean you can't do high adventure. You can still do high adventure in the afternoon. So that's where it's at. If you have questions, let me know. I'm going to now bring up the actual form and walk you through filling it out. So hopefully it'll make a lot more sense. But I just wanted to lay that out ahead of time, because high adventure is going to be kind of an interesting system this year. We'll see how it turns out. Hopefully it'll be fantastic. And like I said, if your scout's going to be 13 or older by 9/1, then I would definitely go through and look at the high adventure choices. And if you choose high adventure, you can still say, I also want to do these troop activities, and we'll see what we have. All right? So, troop9090.com, our website, you go into the registration forms here, and then you select Tomahawk. So far, so good. Yes. Down here, obviously, the full name of the scout, Bob. Why not? It's going to be bob.bob@bob.com. And, I got that wrong. The father is I don't know, Rob.rob rob.com. Phone number is 555-121212. And it's going to be AT&T. Why not? Let's throw that in there. So as you go forward, this is all pretty straightforward. If you filled out any of our forms, all of this should look familiar. If you're planning to be camping, if you want to join us, that's fantastic. We'd love to have you. You would just say yes, and you would say the name of the parent. In this case, it's going to be Rob, right? And when will the parent be camping? Part of what we want to know here is, are you going to be for the full week? All right, you go, Rob. You're going to be all in there. Or are you going to be maybe for part of the week? So let's say first weekend, which is really only Sunday. So if you put in dates, that's even better, but that's what we're going to leave to you. Can parent guardian drive to camp? Now, what we're hoping is by the time June rolls around, we'll be able to actually enable scouts to be filling up cars which their parents are not driving. In other words, going back to our old format. Now, whether that'll happen or not, we don't know. So there's always the default that if your scout's going to go to camp, you may have to drive them up to camp. But if you are going to drive, if everything aligns and you can give rise to other scouts, then please definitely say yes. Say how many scouts that you have spaces for, and if your scout's going, this would include your scout, and then whether you're going to be able to drive from. Now, we drive up on Sunday, we come back on Saturday, so those are the dates. Again, 4, 3, 4, and 4. Do you have any dietary restrictions? That's like gluten allergies, etc. If you're vegan, totally fine. Prescription medicine, we're just going to say no. You would put that information down here. If we said yes, let's say, well, we'll say no. And then we click next. Now this is where you begin to actually fill out the morning merit badge selections and the afternoon troop activities. Now note this is different from high adventure. Okay, so this is the first block. We'll go through that first, and then we'll go through the troop activities. And this is why you want to look at that PDF that I had a link to earlier on, because it'll kind of lay it out somewhat. We'll go through so it'll make more sense, but let's say my scout wants to choose art. Now you notice that if I'm going to choose art, I'm in block 1A. I also have to choose art in block 2A. Please pay attention to this, because if you forget to do that, then it will be work for me to contact you and make sure. But I want to point out that not every time you see something in 2 blocks as you do in art, that you have to require it in both. So like camping, for example, is in block 1A, and you'll notice that it's also in block 2A. But those are 2 different merit badge slots. You don't have to select both. In fact, if you do, it'll be redundant. So only if you see this. Now again, check the pamphlet, the PDF that I have a link to, just to make sure I haven't made a mistake. Always be careful. But in this case, he's going to do art, so he selects it in 2A. Also has to be 12 by fall. What that means, you'll see that a lot, is that by the time September 1st rolls around, they have to be at least 12 years old. And this requirement 6, again, all of these things are in the PDF, will tell you what requirement they need to have before they get to camp to get it fully at camp. Now, if they don't get it fully, they can always finish it up after camp. They get partial merit badges. But if they're going, they may as well get this out of the way. They get there, they come away with their merit badge. $10 additional charge, that's for art supplies in this case. Again, some of these have these. Horsemanship has an additional $50 charge. If you're going to be in life-saving, you clearly must be swimmer level. But that's what those things are. Now going down to block 1B, they're going to be like, really what I want to do is I want to do chess, because I love chess. And then I go down to 1C, and I'm an older scout, and so I really am not going to do anything. I look through these, and much as I got nature, I got photography, I did all these things, leather working when I was, brown C. I'm going to set this aside. Now, if I don't plan on doing anything at this time, this can be used for older scout things. So if you're an older scout, you can actually select this, and what it means is that this section of time, if you make a series of older scout requests, they will try to fill this up as well. Now, it's always a juggling act with them, because especially at this point, but that's where you would do that. So that's what that's for. If you just are going to be doing high adventure and you want to do this stuff, that's totally fine. So that's the merit badge. That's the morning section. In the afternoon, there are troop activities, and there's a lot of troop activities. I'm just going to scroll to the right. You can see what all these are. The important reason why you want to look at this in the PDF is because it'll give you the list, and you want to actually rank them from 1st to 10th. Again, they're going to try to figure out and get it the best they can, but if our 10th choice is aqua trampoline and everybody else it's their first choice, we might not get it. That's just the way it is. These are activities which the troop will get. So it isn't like me and my buddy are going to go to aqua trampoline. It's actually the troop will have a time to set aside for aqua trampoline if enough of us sign up and it becomes the first choice. So that's going to be a juggling part of my act to try to figure out how many people want what and sort of have a weighted balance there. But let's say I go through and I want to do aqua trampoline. And then over here, you see all these things with MBs? These are actually merit badges that the troop itself can earn. Now, you don't have to go to these activities. Let's put that out there. If you really don't want to do aqua trampoline and we get it, you do not have to do aqua trampoline. But it's there for you. My second choice is I really want to do bird study. And I want the troop to do bird study. We may or may not get it, but I'm going to put in bird study. That's what the MB stands for. It's just for merit badge. There's a whole bunch of them that we can get. My third choice is I love the climbing tower, I love disc golf, and I love to eat mushrooms. Probably not mushrooms. So edible ecology. Now I'm down to my sixth choice. I'm totally going to do ice cream outpost. In fact, I think I'm actually going to swap these around because I really like ice cream over I like eating berries. But I'm done. Like, I've looked through this list, maybe horseback ride. And there's nothing more I really want. And then I'll scroll over here and I can say none, none, none. Now you have to fill all of this out, the 1st to 10th choices. If you finish, like you only want 6 of these, make sure you choose none. It'll let you go on. Now comes the point where it actually says, hey, are you going to be 13 old by August 31st, 2021? And do you want to participate in High Adventure Older Scout programs? If you're unsure at this point, I would look at the PDF, make sure, at the very least, say yes. It doesn't lock you in, but at least you'll see what the options are. So I'm going to say yes here. If I have any notes I need to put in, like, I don't know, don't like the color red when painting, whatever, anything I need to know, put it in there, and then say next. Now, when you do that, you'll see that this is the Older Scout High Adventure programs. Now, these things are their own sorts of beasts. Tier 2, Tier 3, let's take a look at the ATV. That's a good, straightforward one. Up here, the ATV Tier 1 and ATV Tier 2, there's a minimum age that you have to be as of 8/31/21. They figured this was easier than trying to go by grades. That's what you got. Also, a minimum number of scouts per troop. And then the additional cost if there are any, and also prerequisites. So in this case, you need to be 14, obviously, and you have to complete the E-course. That means there's an online course you have to go through, a safety course, and then you go there and you do Tier 1, the safety riding course. In order to do Tier 2, you have to be 14 and have completed Tier 1. So what if you want to do a trail ride? You don't want to go to Tomahawk and be stuck just doing the safety riding course, as absolutely thrilling as that is. Well, it's very straightforward. What you can do is you choose both of those. And so you do Tier 1, and then you do Tier 2. So that's why they have these tiers here, so you can go through these things. You notice that some of these have Tier 1 with multiple choices. Climbing Tier 1 has 2 different options, and then you can go to Climbing Tier 2, which is actually rock climbing off-site. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But that's how these lay out. These are some of your badge activities. And down here, this is cut straight from the PDF. It'll tell you some of the information of what these are. There's more information in the PDF, but obviously this is a quick overview. All right? And now, let me point out a couple things. This stuff is set up so we can do it as a troop. That means that we're not going to have a large variety. We're not going to be able to do all of these because there's a certain limited number of slots. But the more people that ask for it, the more people we're going to get into it. All right, let's go down here and see what there is. So I'm going to say I really love aqua rig. I don't know if you can go online and see what it looks like. It looks pretty fun. I want to do the Tier 1 and tier 2 ATV. I want to get on the trail ride. I want to do those things. Over here, I want to, oh my goodness, metalworking. And in fact, I'm going to change that because I like those so much better than these things. Notice I have to go back and change these. That's totally okay. And I'll put aqua rig as 5th choice because after a hard day at metalwork, at welding, I'm just going to have to go do that. I'm going to have to get this is. Now, as you can see, this is where the tricky part. Again, like I said, sit down and write up your list so you have an idea before you go in. Make it a lot easier when you're filling this out. And besides being in the aqua rig, I totally want to do, I'm down to number 6. I'm going to do the robotics. And then I'm done. Like, I'm not really interested in any more of these programming. Whitewater kayaking, been there, done that. All right. Oh, maybe catamaran. All right. Then I say, I have no notes to do. And then I click submit. And that's it. This has been submitted and given, and I will shuffle these things to try to determine what we can try to get. But if you have any questions, you give me a call. This is a quick rundown. Hopefully it didn't take too long.